Good morning and welcome to Mornings on Main Street for this Monday, March 6th. I'm your host, Stefanie Miller. Hope you guys are getting off to a great start on this Monday. Coming up today, we are checking in with our government reporter, Vivian Jones, who's going to give us the very latest on bills and legislation here in Tennessee. Following that, Catherine Mayhew is back with us for our Let's Eat segment today. And today we are talking food pop-ups in Music City. And lastly, I get to introduce you to a very special nonprofit here in Middle Tennessee. It is Second Chance Canine Rescue, a nonprofit organization pairing high drive dogs with veterans suffering from PTSD. I look forward to sharing their story with you in a few minutes. But first, let's get a check of our headlines. Aaliyah Brooks, a Liberty Creek High School student, was taken off life support Sunday. She was critically injured Friday after a tree fell on her at her Hendersonville home while the family was clearing fallen debris from the storm. Now, according to a post on Facebook from her father, Aaliyah suffered a traumatic brain injury. There was a second fatality. It was an elderly woman in Indian Lake who died after a tree fell on her when she was returning home with a neighbor. Our condolences go out to both families. You can read more by going to mainstreetmediatn.com. Well, it is likely that Tennessee's bill on the abortion ban for rape, incest, or a medical emergency will not move forward this year. Main Street Nashville's government reporter, Vivian Jones, will be with us momentarily, and she'll talk more on this bill and other legislation in just a couple of minutes. And then if you are looking for a little bit of fitness inspiration, I know I am often, well, I have a feature story for you. Main Street Clarksville reporter Sherry Reeves has been on her fitness journey since last October. Since then, she's gone down to full dress size. And not only that, she is feeling great. Now, in her recent story that Sherry posted, one of her recent stories, she shares information on ways to conquer plateaus when working out. Get inspired with all of her stories by visiting mainstreetmediatn.com and going to Main Street Clarksville.
In Music City just hits different. It's one big honky-tonk party. It's the sea of gold in the crowd. The goals, the saves, the celebrations. It's an experience like no other. Don't miss a minute of the action this season. Visit NashvillePredators.com/tickets to get your seats today. That's NashvillePredators.com/tickets. And we'll see you at Bridgestone Arena.
It's just a few cocktails at happy hour.
It's just a few cocktails at happy hour.
You really good try.
There aren't any cops around.
I didn't think there were any cops around.
I drink and drive all the time.
Sir, you've been in a serious crash. I need you to hang on, okay? Tell me your name, sir. Do you know where you are right now?
Main Street Sports Today strives to bring you the most timely and comprehensive coverage of sports news and more from Middle Tennessee and beyond.
We cover the teams you care about from preps to pros and bring some of the most influential voices in sports to keep you in the know.
Tune into Main Street Sports Today each Monday through Friday at 2 p.m. Download the Main Street Media TV app.
Welcome back. It is time now to check in with our government reporter out of Nashville. You can find all of her articles in Main Street Nashville. I'm talking about Vivian Jones. We always love when we get to check in with her on Mondays. Vivian, good morning to you. Thanks for being here.
Good morning. Thanks so much for having me. Yeah, last week, big news out of the Capitol was Governor Bill Lee signed 2 bills that are aimed at the LGBT community. First was to prohibit gender transition surgeries and medical treatments for transgender youth. The new law will go into effect on July 1st of this year, but patients currently taking prescribed hormone treatments and puberty blockers will be required by state law to cease that use by March 2024. So there's a little bit of time to kind of get off of those prescriptions, but the state will now be requiring you not to take those drugs. The governor also signed a bill that will prohibit sexually suggestive drag performances in public or anywhere that children could be present, and that law goes into effect on April 1st. The governor signed these bills rather quietly on Tuesday. There wasn't any public signing or ceremony or press conference, and he didn't even issue an official statement on it. So that was kind of unusual with bills passed so early in the season. A couple of the bills that we're following were delayed this week as lawmakers are continuing to negotiate the details. 2 key bills that would create exceptions to the state's total abortion ban stalled or were delayed. A bill that would create exceptions for rape and incest appears to be dead for the year. It was sent to the General Subcommittee by the sponsor. And then a bill that would create protections for positions that are treating pregnant women with life-threatening emergencies. That was put on hold for 2 weeks. So we'll see how that goes from here. Interesting of note, the Tennessee Right to Life organization, which is a powerful lobbying group that was behind the passage of the ban in 2019, is opposing that bill. So we'll have to see how those negotiations move forward. Another thing to note, medical cannabis legalization bill sponsored by Senator Janice Bowling that probably had the best shot of passage this year. It's not the only proposal out there by any means. And there's also recreational legalization bills out there. But that bill that she sponsored failed overwhelmingly in the Senate Judiciary Committee last week. And so that's probably something we're going to have to wait another year on as well. So lots moving forward, but also kind of hurry up and wait at this point on some things.
Well, luckily we get to check in with you every Monday. First off, on the legalization of the marijuana, we're one of 13 states left that are holding out?
Something like that. Yeah, I think this would have made us the 38th state to legalize medicinal cannabis, but probably not this year.
maybe 2024 for that one.
We'll have to see.
Also going back to just one more question about the medical transition for minors. Mm-hmm. Do you know yet if they're going to be providing any help to the minors coming off of that drug? If their families will get any assistance with that, or?
The bill doesn't specify alternatives. I think that would be up to the patient and their provider as to alternative routes of care. It's just that specifically these things are prohibited now.
Okay, got it. Vivian, thank you so much. Do you have anything else for us before we let you go?
One thing to watch for this week, the legislature is going to be hearing confirmation hearings, holding confirmation hearings for Governor Bill Lee's pick for the Tennessee Supreme Court. His name is Dwight Tarwater. He's an attorney from Knoxville, and he previously served as general counsel for the Haslam administration. So there's some hearings this week, and then a joint convention is scheduled for Thursday. They have to have both the House and the Senate meeting together and then vote all together. He's expected to be confirmed, and if that happens, he would replace retiring Justice Sharon Lee, who is the last remaining Democratic nominee or Democratic appointed justice on the Supreme Court in Tennessee. So we'll see what happens there.
Sounds good. Vivian, thank you so much.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Anytime. All right. You can find all of Vivian Jones' articles at Main Street Nashville. You can do that by going to mainstreetmediatn.com. Stick with us here on Mornings on Main Street. We have more coming up after this.
There's a lot to consider when it comes to choosing a Medicare plan. That's where Health Markets Insurance Agency can help. Independent licensed insurance agents who work with Health Markets can answer your questions about the different parts of Medicare, when you can enroll, benefits, costs, and more. Speak to a local licensed insurance agent today to get started on your Medicare journey.
Hey folks, while we take a quick break from the show, I want to tell you about our friends over at Custom Stone Handlers in downtown Columbia. Ed Rich and his team at Custom Stone Handlers believe in leadership. And outside of the military, our greatest leader building platform is sports. Custom Stone Handlers proudly encourages young people to get in the game. You can contact them today at 931-490-4990 or visit CustomStonehandlers.com.
Here at the Journey Louis team with Benchmark Realty, we pride ourselves on the service that we provide our clients.
We believe in delivering a level of service that is above and beyond what is expected.
We don't cut corners, and we are always available. We are committed to learning and continuously sharpening our skills.
We're social media experts, we're tech savvy, and we embrace change.
It is our unending desire to be our client's realtor for life. We are the Journey Louis team, leading you home.
At Miss Lucille's, we go for apple pie. A place that feels like a home away from home. A comfortable place to bring your family from out of town. It's a place where great conversations are had. It's a place where you can shop 200 small businesses in one location. It's a place for you to shop for gifts for any occasion or just to treat yourself. Come on down to Miss Lucille's. You'll be glad you did.
Welcome back to Mornings on Main Street. We are getting ready to talk about a pop-up that you can find in Nashville. It's called the Salty Cubana, and to tell us all about it, we have our Let's Eat segment, Catherine Mayhew. She's our food reporter and columnist. Catherine, thank you so much. Pop-ups are becoming really popular, and now pop-up food places.
Pop-up food places in Nashville are huge right now. And for those who don't know what a pop-up is, it's a temporary location for a restaurant. And the reason they're so popular is it's a really economical way for food purveyors to get started in the business without having to spend money on rent, maintenance, all those things associated with a brick and mortar restaurant. So in this case, it's the Salty Cubana. She has a pop-up at Richland Farmers Market. And it's there Saturdays from 9 to noon. Right now it's winter hours, and when it gets to be summer, they'll be longer. And she is originally from Miami and got to Nashville, was working another job not related to food, but she really missed her Cuban food. And so she thought, well, maybe I'll make a few things and see if anybody's interested. And it's turned into quite a good little business.
That's amazing. We are definitely interested. What sort of items does that? You said you were telling me that it's a one woman show. There's just one woman behind this.
Exactly. And she makes really traditional Cuban food in some cases. She makes a picadillo, which is a really savory ground beef sort of stew with tomatoes and onions and capers and raisins. It's a salty sweet kind of thing. It's hugely popular in Cuba, and she serves it with the traditional black beans and rice, which are also very traditional to Cuba. And she also does a ropa vieja, which is a slow braised beef that is shredded and then combined with tomatoes and garlic and onion and peppers, also very traditional. And she has a few things there that are traditional but not. She does ham croquettes. Croquettes are, again, a street food in Cuba that's very popular. But she combines cheese in with the ham and then breads these little logs of deliciousness and deep fries them right on the spot. So you can stand at the farmer's market and just notch on these really delicious, creamy, savory croquettes that are out of this world. She makes a number of puff pastries in different flavors. The one that I gravitate to always, because I'm from Tampa, and this is also very popular in Tampa, is the guava and cream cheese, which guava is a really sweet fruit. But if you combine it with something savory like the cheese, it all kinds of balances out, and they're just great. And the thing that she's lately been making that I've never heard of anywhere, she gets honey ham lard from Porter Road Butcher here in town. And she uses that lard to make her Cuban bread. And traditionally, Cuban bread is not made with this at all. And the Cuban bread traditionally is a white bread. It's crispy on the outside. It's somewhat soft on the inside, and used for Cuban sandwiches. Well, her Cuban bread has this lard in it and it kind of turns the dough a little yellowish in a good way, and it makes it softer than a traditional Cuban bread. So it's really good to bring home and make your own Cuban sandwiches with, but it's also really good to toast in the morning. It's quite unusual and worth getting.
Sounds amazing. I'm glad you can't see this, but there's a little drool just running down my chin right there. How did you stumble across
Richland Farmers Market?
How did you stumble across the salty Cubana? Did you hear about it, or did you just?
No, Richland Farmers Market is one of the really leading places for all these little pop-ups.
Okay.
There's probably 20 of them that ebb and flow from that market. And I was over there actually one day picking up a sandwich from Coco Rico and wandered by the Salty Cubana. And because I have a love of Cuban food, I thought, well, let's just give it a try. And it turned out to be just terrific. Very authentic. There's not a lot of Cuban food in Nashville. So it's really worth checking her out.
Have you had a chance to talk with her?
Yeah.
Well, I wanted to ask, is she surprised with the reception that she's received since starting this her pop-up?
You know, this is something that's common to all the people who do these pop-ups. I would not say she's surprised because she's so passionate about what she does, as are all these folks. And their attitude is kind of, look at me, look what I can do. You know, why wouldn't you like this? And everybody does like it. So I think she's got more affirmation than surprise.
I love it. Catherine, thank you for sharing the Salty Cubana with us. Tell us one more time where we can find it.
Right now, you can find it at Richland Farmers Market on Saturday mornings. I would also follow her on Instagram because wherever else she might show up, that's where the schedule will be.
Got it. Awesome, Catherine. Until the next time, next Monday, we look forward to seeing you. Have a great rest of the week.
You as well.
Thank you. Stay with us here on Mornings on Main Street because you know what? We have a lot more to come right after this.
Welcome to the Omni Nashville Hotel. Urban elegance with a vintage touch. Our 800-room hotel opened up in the fall of 2013 with 746 guest rooms and 54 suites.
Here at Dixon Medical Associates, we've got you covered from neck to toe. Our orthopedics team offers services in sports medicine, foot and ankle reconstruction, spinal surgery, and more. We also have in-house imaging and physical therapy. Dixon Medical Associates, we specialize in what moves you.
Join me, Stefanie Miller, each week as we bring you the best of what's happening here in Clarksville. From the work of nonprofits to the latest events, highlights on local businesses, and also sharing you the stories of the beautiful people that make up the Queen City. Welcome back. This morning, I have the pleasure of introducing you to a special nonprofit based out of Clarksville, Tennessee. It is Second Chance K9. This rescue organization rescues high-performance dogs and pairs them with special operations veterans suffering from PTSD. Travis and Melissa Hall founded Second Chance K9. This morning, you get to hear from Travis Hall about how this was founded and created and where he hopes it'll go.
Bear and I did 4 combat deployments to Iraq together. You know, he was my right hand. He was my best friend. I get super emotional. I'm sorry. But yeah, like that dog was my everything, and he retired to me after his service, and he retired at 7. He lived to 14, and he was the best, you know. And we were a little worried in the beginning because he was a beast, dude. He'd hurt people, you know, and so I was a little like, oh, what are we getting ourselves into? But man, when he transitioned from his military service to our home, he was just brilliant, you know. Like he adapted to it. He became a part of it. He knew what his job was, to take care of the family and to be a part of our lives, you know. And when he died, it was really dark times for me. I was over in Afghanistan when he died, but when he died, it was super dark times for me, and I lost that connection. And he had an accidental litter. So we kept one of his puppies out of, you know, fear that she just wouldn't be a great dog for anyone else. And she turned into my service dog. So his daughter was my first, well, Bear was technically my first service dog, but his daughter became my service dog, and she's retired now as well. And she still lives with us. And so, you know, just to have this legacy in life, and Bear's just, he was such an amazing soul, you know, and for him to be able to do the things that he did, everybody, you know, he turned off the bite, you know, like when he retired, he didn't, like, I never worked with him on biting or anything, but he turned it off, and he just became my companion in everything, my best friend, my partner. He would go everywhere with me. And even, you know, like when I was doing guard stuff or, you know, like teaching, you know, he was just there. And I miss him every day. I think about him every single day. He's my best friend.
As a way to honor Bear's legacy and give to the veteran community he's a part of, Travis and his wife and partner Melissa developed Second Chance Canine.
We were rescuing dogs for years before we started this nonprofit, and me and Melissa, my wife, sat down and we were like, man, we've spent a lot of money on dogs. We need to figure something out, whether we start a nonprofit or we stop doing this, you know, but we have to. We basically spend our son's college money on dogs, you know, and so we started the nonprofit, and we've been going strong for about 3 years.
The number one goal is to develop a service dog. Secondary is adoptions. Lastly, Second Chance Canine strives to help veterans receive a dog that will be a good match for both veteran and canine.
You know, special operations takes care of special operations. You know, like we're a special operations nonprofit. You know, our whole goal in life is to increase and improve the lives of our special operations veterans, you know. We actually get a little bit of stink, you know, from people because we only work with special operations right now. But you have to imagine there's only 2 of us doing this, you know, like there's 2 of us taking care of all 10 of these dogs right now. Right. You know, and so we're a small organization right now. We would love to open up to like EMS, police departments and stuff like that. We need space, we need money, we need people, you know, and we're building those things now with our fostering program, and you know, we're trying to put the infrastructure together to build those things. It just takes time.
What also takes time is training very smart, loyal, and athletic breeds. Travis puts it into perspective.
So you're talking about 10,000 hours for 6 dogs in the movie John Wick. That's freaking 60,000 hours of training in dogs in order to make that film. Not so familiar with the movie Dog, but I would imagine, if I had to guess, it was probably 2 to 4 dogs to film that movie. And I would imagine probably similar, close to, you know, 5 to 10,000 hours per dog in that movie. So you're talking about, like, if you look at Kuma at 2 years old, I probably have 1,000 hours of training in Kuma, you know, like just straight up, not like just being with me or whatever, but just hanging out, doing training. I probably have 1,000 hours of training in Kuma. You know, a service dog, we have to put 200 hours of training. Well, the American Disabilities Act requires 180 hours, but we put 200 hours of training into every single service dog that we train. Now, that's nothing compared to these dogs that we're training to do a specific task. Now, if you don't train these dogs and you don't force them to use their minds and force them to complete a task, these dogs will lose it. They'll go crazy. They don't. They thrive on a job. They thrive on a task. You know, and that's, I think, where people are kind of like, oh, I'm going to get this dog and then I'm just going to throw it in my backyard and it's going to go crazy. It's going to chew up stuff. It's going to be nuts. You know, and it's going to dig holes. You know, and you just have to find ways to entertain their minds. You know, the way we work it is a veteran applies via the website, and then we contact that veteran and we talk to them, and we do if they're local, we ask them to come to us. If they're not local, we set up a Zoom. I'm the military guy, so I do all the vetting for the military side, you know, making sure they were in a use of SOC unit and, you know, things like that. Melissa, on the other hand, is our mental health person, and since she's a licensed clinical social worker, she does the mental health interview. Like, hey, what are your diagnoses? What are your problems? How can we help you? We're looking for a very specific veteran.
This nonprofit, Second Chance K9, hopes to help more dogs and veterans, and hopefully others in the future.
So, yeah, our dream is 100 acres, right? Like, so we want 100 acres, and we want to have this like retreat feel, right? Like everything everybody does right now, it's kind of like you come here, but you stay in a hotel because, you know, we just don't, like, I mean, you're looking at it. You're looking at the facility. We don't have, you know, everything we need right now. But what we want to do is we want to buy 100 acres and we want to build 6 kennels. And the reason 6 to 8, and the reason we want to build 6 or 8 instead of one big one is because every working kennel I've ever been in, if dog number 1 is sick, dog number 200 is sick. If dog number 1 is barking, dog number 200 is barking. So for us, we're kind of like wanting to go a little more micro instead of macro, because then not only does it help us keep the dogs healthier and happier, but we can, so our design when we build the kennel is going to have an apartment upstairs. And that way we can house up to 6 to 8 veterans at a time. Like, I have a ton of friends that, like, for whatever reason, they're going through divorces or, you know, they're just down on their luck or whatever. And we could bring those dudes here and we can incorporate them into our daily rhythm in that, like, oh, cool, you're in charge of this kennel, right? Like, you're 100% in charge. You will feed, house, bathe, take care of, and I will be there to help you and to spot check you. And if you're not doing a good job, unfortunately, we're going to move you out and we're going to move someone in who will, you know? And so it makes them really work to be a part of our program. And I mean, that's a lofty dream. 100 acres is, you know, millions of dollars here, you know? So that's a lofty dream for us. But, you know, if you don't dream big, you're never going to be big, you know?
The work being done by Travis and Melissa, it's just amazing. Thank you guys for doing what you do. And Travis, thank you so much for your time. Now, not every dog can make the cut to be a service dog, but that's okay. For those who don't quite make it, they can still be adopted. Also in the works right now is a documentary about Second Chance K9. Once that is released, I hope to bring a little bit of that to all of you who are watching this now. If you would like more information about Second Chance K9, you can do that by going to their website, their Facebook page, or by going to Instagram. Well, thank you so much for joining us here on Mornings on Main Street for this Monday. I hope you have a beautiful rest of your day, and we look forward to seeing you back here tomorrow.